If we put aside old ideas about this being just a traditional romance and really look at Jane Austen's Sense and Sensibility, we find a deeply moving story of healing. It isn't a collection of rigid moral lessons or a simple story about finding a husband. Instead, it is a beautifully realistic look at how we survive in a world of social rules and expectations. A story about two very different sisters finding a way to keep each other warm when the world around them grows cold. The tragedy begins not with a massive explosion, but with a quiet, painful loss. Because of a rigid, outdated inheritance law, the sudden death of Mr. Dashwood leaves his wife and daughters with almost nothing. Overnight, they are stripped of their home and pushed into a life of tight budgets and lower social standing. In this difficult moment, the two older sisters deal with the pain in completely opposite ways. Elinor, the oldest, represents sense or reason. Facing the sudden downfall of her family and the cold glances of society, she chooses to wrap herself in a calm, unbreakable shell. She buries her pain, her stress, and her deep worry for her mother and sisters deep inside, refusing to let anyone see her break. Marianne, the second sister, represents sensibility or pure emotion. She is only 17, and her heart is filled with a fierce, untamed romance. To her, hiding your feelings is fake and being cautious is cowardly. When she is sad, she cries with her whole heart. When she loves completely. One sister hides her warmth beneath a calm surface, while the other lets her emotions burn out in the open. In a cold world where status and money decide how much respect you get, they have lost their safe haven. They are like two travelers walking through a winter storm, using different instincts to fight the freezing reality around them. To save money, the family moves to Barton Cottage, a simple house in a quiet country setting. It is here, surrounded by the scent of fresh grass and trees, that Marianne meets the man she believes is her destiny. It happens during a sudden storm. Willoughby arrives like a knight from a storybook, carrying her home through the mud and rain. In a country social circle usually driven by money deals and polite gossip, Willoughby feels like a roaring campfire to Marianne. He is young, passionate, and loves the same poetry she does. He is completely willing to laugh with her in the pouring rain and hold her hand without caring about strict social rules. That unguarded, passionate warmth completely melts Marianne's defenses. Listening to his promises of love, Marianne falls for him entirely. She feels that in a cold world, she has finally found a soulmate who feels exactly the same way she does. She puts all her life force and absolute trust into this intense first love. But Elinor, watching from the side, feels a deep worry beneath her gentle smile. Her logic tells her that in a society ruled by money, intense passion without financial security is a highly risky gamble. Yet, seeing her sister's face light up with happiness, Elinor chooses to protect her silently. The two sisters are facing life from opposite sides. But inside their humble cottage, with a small fire always burning in the hearth, they remain each other's only true comfort. The real world never lets a romantic dreamer escape its gravity for long. When the story moves to the glamorous social scene of London, the cold reality of money and class strikes the sisters with full force. Willoughby disappears. When Marianne finally sees him again at a London ball, she doesn't get an embrace. Instead, she receives a heartbreaking reality check. Let's look honestly at Willoughby. Was he just a heartless liar from the start? No, he truly loved Marianne's vibrant life force. But he was also a wealthy young man who spent way too much money and was drowning in debt. Faced with a choice between living a simple life with a poor girl or selling his soul for a fortune, Willoughby gives in to the pressure. He abandons Marianne and decides to marry a wealthy woman with a massive inheritance, a woman he does not love. He rejects Marianne's trembling hand, sending her a polite, icy letter that says his feelings never went beyond ordinary friendship. This is the harsh reality of the world. In a society driven by vanity and status, pure passion without money is a luxury item that gets tossed aside when the pressure builds. Marianne's romantic world collapses overnight. The pain is just as deep for Elinor. At the exact same time, she is carrying her own silent heartbreak. The man she loves, Edward, is trapped by a foolish promise of marriage he made years ago. To be honorable, he prepares to marry a shallow woman he no longer loves. Knowing this, Elinor doesn't cry or complain. She keeps a smile on her face for her family, manages the household, and comforts her broken sister. This is the deepest human truth in Austen's writing. In the cold parlors of London, both girls carry immense pain. One burns her heart to ash, while the other freezes her tears into ice. The ultimate crisis arrives in the dark of night. Unable to cope with her heartbreak, Marianne wanders out into a storm, falls dangerously ill with typhus, and faces the reality of death. The ultimate crisis arrives in the dark of night. Unable to cope with her heartbreak, Marianne wanders out into a storm, falls dangerously ill with typhus, and faces the reality of death. Sitting by the bed of her dying sister, Elinor's calm, logical defense completely falls apart. She stops caring about social appearances or being the strong older sibling. She kneels by the bed, buries her face in Marianne's cold hands, and weeps with a broken heart. She uses a lifetime of pent-up tears to beg the world for her sister's life. She kneels by the bed, buries her face in Marianne's cold hands, and weeps with a broken heart. She uses a lifetime of pent-up tears to beg the world for her sister's life. And this moment becomes a beautiful instance of pure, mutual healing between two sisters. As Marianne drifts near death, she feels those hot, genuine tears from her sister hitting her skin. That touch of pure love pulls her back from the edge, restarting her will to live. She slowly opens her eyes and looks at her sister, who is weeping uncontrollably. In that instant, Marianne truly understands Elinor's world for the first time. She realizes that beneath her older sister's calm, logical surface lies an ocean of emotion that is just as deep, intense, and painful as her own. Elinor wasn't unfeeling. She simply chose to carry the weight of the entire family on her own shoulders to keep them safe. In that quiet room, the two sisters hold each other close. They use the basic warmth of their bond to drive away the deep coldness they have both carried. Elinor's tears save Marianne from death, and Marianne's recovery allows Elinor to finally release the heavy burden she has carried for so long. They bring each other back to life. Marianne survives, but the illusion of the romantic fantasy she chased is gone forever. In Colonel Brandon, a man who has faced the hardships of life but kept his deep tenderness intact, she finds a real, solid love. It isn't a compromise or settling for less. It is a mature, beautiful partnership. She has learned to use reason to protect her deep feelings. And Elinor, the girl who spent her whole life controlling her emotions for others, finally sheds her rigid armor the moment Edward returns to her. Free of his old debts and completely honest, for the first time in her life, she lets herself cry out loud in the sunlight out of pure happiness. She has learned to let emotion complete her reason. Ordinary romance novels usually close the book the moment the wedding bells ring, but Sense and Sensibility remains a timeless masterpiece because it shows a deeper truth. True growth isn't about reason destroying your feelings, nor is it about passion overtaking your mind. It is about your heart going through the hardships of reality and finding a perfect balance between the two. You do not need to turn your heart into stone to survive this world, and you do not need to burn yourself to ash chasing a fantasy. Be like Elinor and protect your deepest warmth beneath a calm surface. Be like Marianne and find the courage to reach out for a real, genuine connection even after you've been hurt. Love a real person, protect what is clean and true, and trust that life will bring you back to a warm, safe place. Beneath the marble floors of wealth, status, and social rules, the solid earth is always waiting for you. The moment you drop the pretense and embrace life with a balanced heart, you will find your way to a free path that is entirely your own, undefeated, uncompromised, and absolutely free.